Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So it's a bit dark in here, I know, but I just wanted to show the lights back there so that would make it more visible. But regardless, hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking about a very potentially historic snowstorm across the Northeast. Now, some of these models are showing snowfall amounts that the coastal areas haven't seen in maybe 5, 6, 7 years. So this is definitely something that is potentially looking very exciting, to say the least. So a lot of stuff to go over. This may be a longer video. I try to squeeze as much as I can. So without further ado, if you guys like this channel, if you like this video, check out my other videos, consider subscribing, and obviously if you're a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. Otherwise, let's start talking about this winter storm. Alright, so there's a ton of stuff to go over, and we still have that occurring snowstorm across Oklahoma and portions of Arkansas and Missouri right now. That is really starting to go on over there, so we have kind of several systems to go over. Alright, snowfall amounts. This is obviously what the snowfall amounts from that first one, if you recall, a couple days ago that occurred. And notice that portions of extreme northeastern Michigan got almost 1.5 feet, some inches. So some locations over 15 inches. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe a few 18-inch amounts. But you could see it did pretty much as forecasted. It was a powerful system. Now, we saw this storm as well. Notice, it really dumped a ton of snow across portions of right there, Moscow, Kansas, Meade, Kansas. 14 inches, 15 inches, well over a foot. Now, it did dwindle as it went further to the south and east, but still, Oklahoma City, I think the official amount was somewhere between 3 to 5 inches, depending. It varied a bit. Further to the north, there were some higher amounts, but that's as expected. But notice, Amarillo also got, I think, within 3 to 4 inches, maybe a bit less. Though definitely it's also starting to produce quite a bit across Arkansas. They have issued winter storm warnings. As of the last video that I made, they haven't. I was just reading the forecast discussion for the New York City area, because that could be one of the areas that could be impacted by that second system. But notice, with this first one, there are still warnings going on, and it is definitely winding down in terms of the snow. The rain is going to continue to bog portions of the southeast, and the rain with this system will still be pretty heavy despite obviously not having snow. So the only thing that is preventing this from being a flooding threat is how quickly the system will be moving through the southeast. Notice that northwestern Arkansas does have some winter storm warnings. And again, these will be expiring relatively soon, but I mean, you can see right there up until midnight, so that's still around 6 hours. And the snowfall forecast really did go up across these locations. You can see Fayetteville's 4 to 6 inches, so definitely pretty impressive. Also, lots of southern Missouri is seeing some snow. And if you're to take a look at the forecasted amounts using the HER model, which is a model that runs every hour, releases a new forecast model run. Notice that, let's start off at hour 1. This is what it looks like right now. This continues to push into further towards the east and southeast, and then notice it even brings some snow into maybe Little Rock, Arkansas, to portions of extreme eastern or western Tennessee, and up into the northeast. Now, it may produce a bit of snow across West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, 2 to 3, 4 inches, but that's not the big event. That's not the big snowstorm. Total snowfall accumulations to come still from this across Arkansas. Several amounts in ranging generally from the 2 to 4 inches. I wouldn't be surprised if there will be pockets of maybe slightly isolated amounts. But again, this snow has been overperforming in some locations and other locations underperforming. But that's how usually it is with very heavy snowfall. That is kind of a rain to snow transition basis. Notice that it does start producing heavy snow across these locations quite quickly. And taking a look at the HER model, which 18Z, it goes out to 48 hours, so it's kind of the longer version of the HER model. You could see, obviously, this shows more snow because this is an older model run, not because there's more snow forecasted. But notice that it even shows some 3 to 4 inch amounts across southern Pennsylvania into extreme northern Virginia. Again, this is not the big system, and the big system is still yet to come. Let's take a look at the GFS. Let's go to the MSL precip and frozen and go over this. So again, there's so much stuff to go about, so many different models. I'll just go over the timing of the first model, right? But then the rest, unfortunately, I'll just have to go through since that just takes too much time. And they'll be relatively similar. The timing is not really the issue; it's the track, and the track will be on time. It's just again where it goes. So this is 12 a.m. midnight tonight. You can see mainly rain across the southeast. Tomorrow early in the morning it starts transitioning snow into West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City, maybe picking up on some snow according to the high resolution models. It could definitely pick up 2 to 3 inches. We'll have to see about that, but you can see it moves off, doesn't really have that potential of very heavy snow. And this is now again 12 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m. so around 24 hours from right now. Then 12 a.m. it is completely off. Now moving on to that big storm, we see that low pressure, which is already kind of has moved on to the land right now, onto the U.S., made landfall, if you will. Notice it drops a bit more snow across same locations: Oklahoma City, maybe Kansas, Wichita, Topeka, and generally way lighter amounts. There won't be any 15-inch amounts, but 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 inches are possible. It seems to disappear briefly for the south. You can see right there at around 12 a.m. Wednesday morning, and then this is now 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. Notice that as we push into the noontime hour, we start seeing snow across Indianapolis, southern Illinois, into portions of southern Ohio, maybe even to Cleveland. Really light snow on this northern side, but here we start seeing that transition into Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. Not yet, but you can see by 6 p.m. it's getting towards New York City. And then Pennsylvania, again, getting engulfed by this. This system is not strong in terms of its millibars, but it quickly deepens, and the moisture it has is just absolutely abundant. There's no way to describe that. And notice that we have very, very heavy snowfall rates, most likely occurring from Wednesday into early Thursday at their heaviest. You can see northern Pennsylvania also getting on some of that according to this model. Again, there are differences, and these differences could mean a very snowy scenario versus a kind of snowy versus no snow. Again, the GFS does not favor, for example, Boston seeing much snow, or Maine whatsoever. As we take this through, it's really already off the coast of the United States by noon of Thursday. So again, this is a fast occurring system, but the rates of snow will be just really heavy, and some even mesoscale banding will be likely. So total snowfall from the GFS, you can see the GFS includes the least amount of snow in terms of coverage. Still, a lot of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, southern New Jersey, even portions of Pennsylvania seeing very heavy snow, and into portions of the Northeast. If you look at the regions, the northeastern United States sees 15, 16 inches, 15, 16 inches across several locations. Again, it's a pretty sharp cutoff to the north. New York City with this would end up seeing 7 to 8. And, 7 to 8 inches is still quite a bit. The largest system New York has seen in a few years. But the GFS is one of the least aggressive models. So that kind of shows you what the other models are trying to show, which I'll show you right now. Canadian model. This model has done a pretty good job with this system. I think it's the second best to the European for this storm. I think the GFS has done the worst of the job. Notice what we see is generally lighter amounts across Ohio, Indiana. Still 2 to 3 inches expected, so that could still cause a nuisance, a travel headache. Same thing with upstate New York. Notice this storm takes it further to the north. While Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland still see snow, it's much further to the north into New Hampshire and into Vermont and into portions of extreme southern Maine. Boston seeing well over a foot of snow. Same situation with New York, right? And again, let's take a look at the GFS parallel, another model that is used. It's supposed to be an upgrade of the GFS. Look at that. The GFS parallel really takes this system, and again, snow similar amounts across Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland, but New York City is right on the cutoff. Long Island is really put in that rain, which honestly, it doesn't seem like that will be the case. I was reading the forecast discussion, and what they're going with right now is mostly snow for most of New York City, but the GFS parallel, regardless, is on track with the other models in keeping the very heavy snowfall. A bit of a different placement, right? But very heavy snow. I mean, you can see this puts it further towards Boston, into Worcester or Worcester, into portions of southern New Hampshire, Concord, right, and into maybe extreme southern Maine, Portland even, picking up on a foot of snow. So I can't scan over these amounts and give you the exact ratios or the exact amounts, but there is a reading. You can see 17, 15. New York City with this would be, again, right on the cusp, probably within, anywhere between 4 to 8 inches with the GFS parallel. but I mean these amounts are just very heavy and goes to show you the potential this thing has. Now some people may ask, how far south will this reach? Again, that is very hard to see, and we'll have to see how much cold air there will be. You can see the GFS parallel points quite a bit across North Carolina, Tennessee, and even into portions of South Carolina. It won't be, a foot of snow, but 2 to 3 inches maybe is possible. Coastal areas, not with this system, but it's further going to be closer to the mountains. Notice Ohio, extreme eastern Ohio, could even pick up on some snow with this model run if that were to be true. Now, take a look at the European model. As I mentioned, I think this model has had the best handle on it. I should have shown this first, but again, I show my models randomly as long as I get through all of them. So notice, this is the European snowfall outlook. So here's what it shows with that first system. Portions in West Virginia locations could be picking up almost a foot of snow with this first wave. New York City just north, really 1 to 2 inches, which is, again, still could be a nuisance. But the second storm obviously is not much of a nuisance. It's more of a extreme danger, if you will. Notice the European really explodes with these snowfall amounts. Kind of a combination of the GFS parallel and the GFS. Really a combination of all of them, and I think the best. So right there it shows over 2 feet of snow, which I think there could be some pockets in higher elevated areas with 2 feet of snow plus. But notice, New York City right there, 16 inches. Boston, maybe up to a foot. Connecticut, Providence, Long Island as well. New Jersey, around a foot, foot and a half, even 2 feet. It shows with this. And it doesn't have the Kuchera on this website, but from what I saw yesterday, there could be even higher amounts if the snowfall ratios are equivalent. Now, while I earlier mentioned that this system will be weaker than some nor'easters we've had in the past, it will still have strong winds. And, a nor'easter gets its names because of the prevailing winds from the northeast, and this will be no exception. Some of these winds will be very, very strong right near the center of this. You can see that the overall span of the storm, those winds are very small. It's not a huge windstorm, but where kind of next to the low pressure, New York City, for example, may be under a blizzard warning. So this could be actually a potential blizzard heading towards the northeast. And the New York forecast discussion, if you were to look at their office, they definitely include the mention of that. Again, it's still quite a bit away, 3 to 4 days out. But if you were to take a look at their forecast discussion and go to the bottom, there's a ton of information. You definitely should read over this. They talk about the mesoscale lift. So again, potentially bands of snow producing 2 to 3 inches of snow per hour. But notice considerable blowing, drifting of snow, and at least near blizzard conditions. And I do think that there will be a blizzard warning set up for New York City. And what were we looking at prior to this? Well, we're looking at the European, and notice again the winds, pretty impressive. And look at that rate right there is 2 to 3 inches across portions of eastern central Pennsylvania. Now from the total event, you already saw the amounts. I would like to take a look at the Canadian, and I think this website offers the Kuchera amounts with the Canadian, so that kind of gives it the more accurate amounts adjusted to the temperatures. And you can see that it shows more, even a stripe of very heavy snow, potentially 30 inches plus across Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Providence. I mean, this thing will be very efficient with its precip. It will be producing a lot of precipitation. It's going to be the most efficient producer that the Northeast has probably seen in, again, 5 to 6 years. And this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which is, always a bit kind of on the safer side, if you will. It's always, it's a good, it gives us a good area to look at the snow in kind of a rough range. But again, lighter amounts according to the Canadian with the 10-to-1 ratio. But nevertheless, New York City with this thing will be picking up most likely over a foot of snow if this occurs. And just further to the north and east, maybe even higher amounts. Again, now the question is, how far will this move the snow to the south, to North Carolina, Virginia? You can see that the Canadian doesn't really include much of Virginia in this. The northern locations, that's about it. Eastern Ohio, much of southern New York, and into portions of Maine. And in terms of the total GDPS, I want to take a look at the European, because I don't know if I showed you the European, but I didn't focus on the portions of the Carolinas. Again, it's similar thing, not much snow for the Carolinas, really north or south, but definitely a little bit more for Virginia and West Virginia. and again, a pretty large system for New York, almost a foot and a half, if not more, again with the adjusted Kuchera mounts, which is not available unless you have the paid version here. The European, okay. The GFS parallel I showed you, and that's the one that advertises quite a bit more snow for the, okay, so here we have, all right, so if you look at the Kuchera, that may give us some more accurate. Yeah, you can see it pushes more snow a bit more further into Southern Virginia, but again, it looks as if this won't be really a event for the Carolinas. And the GFS parallel with the Kuchera amounts just shows absurd amounts, you know, into 30 plus, which has happened before, and I'm not saying it will for sure with this system, but there are the necessary ingredients for that to come together. They just have to be mixed right, if you will. Now, some higher resolution models like the NAM 12KM, this model is just beginning to show this system arriving in. This is the first one, by the way. You can see it shows heavier amounts for portions of New Jersey, 1 to 5 inches even. It's a broad range, but even the HER model, which is generally more accurate, is starting to show a bit more snow. So this first one even could a bit overperform with a light coating, but again, that second one is the one we're concerned about. And the NAM develops a very, very healthy precipitation shield with that, and I could just show you that by, well, that was an older model run. The newer one still is overperforming with that first system, and that second one is definitely, look at that. I mean, that's just a gorgeous nor'easter, if you will, and definitely potentially, you know, dropping quite a load of snow. I want to lock it in at 84 hours and take a look at the total snowfall, because I was looking at a bit of an older model run a couple of seconds ago, and why not take a look at the Kuchera. So looking at the first system, it shows even 2 to 3 inches across New York City, further south and west, maybe even up to 5. But with obviously that storm occurring, this is only about halfway through its occurrence. I mean, really just extremely heavy amounts of snow. So this thing has the potential to be very strong, the strongest system the Northeast has seen in possibly, you know, since the 2016 blizzard. And, you know, this is especially dangerous since it's around that time of holiday travel. You know, there won't be a lot of folks this year relatively compared to other years, but still an increased time of the year. And again, the RDPS, another high resolution model, doesn't take it through the whole system, but this is what it shows with up until 2 a.m. Thursday morning, which is when some of the heaviest could be falling. The NAM 3KM really is a model that goes out to 60. This is what it shows with that first system. So again, you might be even shoveling as early as tomorrow into Tuesday across portions of the Northeast. But obviously with that second system, you will probably be snow blowing or not wanting to shovel at all. 20 inches of snow, that's definitely something that a few folks would like to shovel. All right, but that is basically it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and that was a longer video, but again, there's a lot of stuff to go over, and I would still, you know, I can make it 30 more minutes of this video, but unfortunately I need to keep this shorter. And again, a big storm. Stay prepared. You know, this shouldn't be a absolute crippling event, but it's definitely one that occurs probably every, 4 to 5 years. Not an annual thing. And sometimes they occur several times throughout the winter. Sometimes they just get one. We'll see. As of now, it's looking pretty interesting. And again, stay tuned, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya. Bye.